Hey there, spirits, and welcome back to the graveyard. My name's Soul, and this is my ghost friend Art.
Hello everybody!
In this video, I'm going to show you how we made this custom guitar strap. Let's jump into it. So last year, I decided I wanted to get back into playing guitar. I haven't played since I was a kid and forced to play in jazz band during junior high. Playing beginner songs and practicing scales was really boring for me, so I ended up dropping it after 2 years of playing. After falling in love with the ukulele during college, I wanted to pick up the guitar again. So last year, I made the decision to buy another guitar, and man was she pretty. The couple we bought her from were kind of laid back hippie vibe grad students, and the strap that came with the guitar was nice, but it really wasn't our style. So came the idea of getting a new strap, not liking any of the ones we could buy, and looking up how to make our own strap. To make the strap, we followed another tutorial, which I'll link up in the top right corner. It's a short video with not a lot of explanation, so we ran into some problems when we made our strap. And so, the things we are using are the fabric you want to use as a strap, nylon heavy webbing strap, leather, we got this pack of scraps for $2, a bracket, and a D-ring. The tools we're using will be scissors, a blade for cutting the leather, denim needles for my sewing machine, clips and pins for sewing, thread, a rotary cutter, a ruler, an iron, and of course a sewing machine. And as always, the link to everything will be in the description. Now, we wanted to go with an ombre pastel rainbow strap for the guitar, cause you know.
Gay!
But when we were looking online, it was either too expensive, not a cute pattern, or not pastel. So we picked up this tie-dyeing kit and decided to color it ourselves. We just needed to make sure this fabric was 100% cotton so it would take the tie-dye the best. This kit was super nice too because it came with all these colors in pastel and had little bottles for them already. So let's go to tie-dyeing the fabric. Now this strap was testing my sanity the whole way through. It was just one of those projects where it seemed everything that could go wrong was. I think we had some kind of mishap along almost every step of the way. You'll see what I mean in the video. Now for tie-dyeing. Having the fabric be a little damp will help the colors blend a little bit better and create soft edges. And oh my god, when we laid the fabric down, some of the powder in the bottle got out onto the table and put little blue and purple spots on the fresh white fabric. I just covered them by trying to line up the rainbow colors on top of the spots. We also accidentally had our fabric be a little too wet, and it made the tie-dye do that weird stripe thing when we were pouring the dye down. Felix also decided he was going to supervise our tie-dyeing process. I think he approved. Okay.
Wow. Do you like it?
We then took a big wet brush and helped blend those colors together more smoothly. But with all that water, the colors were just a little too light and some of the stripes didn't go away. Once we had the whole fabric dyed, we hung it up and let it sit for 24 hours. As you can see, there was a lot of drippage, but the table was really pretty afterwards. We cleaned it and did a couple more tie-dyeing projects, which maybe I'll do a video in the future. But for now, we wait for the dye to set.
24 hours later.
So we washed and dried the fabric in the washing machine, and because the fabric was raw fabric, a bunch of threads came off the ends and ended up balling and tangling in the wash. Luckily, I was able to cut off those threads and save the fabric. But it turned out pretty nice. Lighter than we hoped, but still nice. Now to just prep the fabric for the strap. I first came in and cut off all the frayed edges to have a clean line to measure off of. And here's where we made another tiny mistake. We misaligned the edge on our cutting mat, so the fabric ended up being thicker than what we wanted. This is where the centimeter measurement starts, and here's where we placed it. Now onto marking the fabric to what was supposed to be 7.5 centimeter width. And here's where I bring in my Doc Ock pair of extra arms to help myself out.
Excuse me, those are my arms.
JK, Sam was helping me the whole way through. Then we cut along the mark with the rotary cutter.
$30? $1. Dollar Tree.
I think it was like 20, but still.
$20.
America, explain!
We need the fabric strip to be 188 centimeters or around 74 inches long. So we're gonna have to cut another strip and sew the two pieces together and then chop off the extra length. And onto the sewing montage. Once that was done, we're going to iron the seams open so it lays flat. Now taking the box of a non-sponsored brand of granola bars,
Unless you want to sponsor us.
I'm going to cut a 4.5 centimeter wide guide for ironing the raw edges in. Now I'm going to cut my fabric into the 74-inch length, and here I believe is where we cut it short because we laid it on the ground and the measuring tape was all bent or something. I told you there was a lot of mistakes everywhere. Next was using the cardboard guide to help iron the raw edges inward. I'm folding the edges over the cardboard with one hand, ironing with the other, and then pressing it down with my other hand.
Those are still my hands.
I found it easier to hold the iron horizontally and do one side of the fabric and then do the other side instead of pressing them both at the same time.
Sometimes you figure it out halfway through.
It was at this moment he knew. He fucked up.
And you know what? You figure out halfway through? We did it on the wrong side. The seam is supposed to be up. It's up. Stop! Cut the cameras!
So here we ironed it on the wrong side and we had to redo this entire half again.
Basically.
Noricat came to check on the redo process and she gave the okay. And once you have it ironed on, you flip it over and just make sure those creases are nice and flat. As you can see from where we ironed it the wrong way the first time, it was giving us a lot of issues and kept trying to fold the first way we ironed it. But you just kind of have to beat it into submission to get what you want.
Extra hands, I need you.
Next, we clipped our fabric onto the 74-inch long nylon strap, which was another mistake because we didn't have enough clips, nor did we have the right kind of clips for sewing. These clips kept bunching up the fabric and making folds that I just sewed over, which you can see in the final strap. I was better off just not adding any clips and just letting the fabric slowly move with the strap as I was pushing it through the machine. I ended up seam ripping it off and trying again without any clips. By this point, I was fuming with frustration. And on the other hand, it was nice and chill and snowy outside. We actually had a snow day earlier that morning. But basically, you sew down one side of the fabric, sew the end closed, and then sew up the other side. I was super over it by this point. So I was sewing really fast and not keeping the seam even when it was going through the sewing machine. So the line kind of looks like Rainbow Road from Mario Kart. I'm then going to print and cut out the leather pattern to prep for the leather. When we bought this pack of leather scrap pieces, we thought it was just black leather, but when we unwrapped it, we found out there was a bunch of other colors in there too, which worked out in our favor because we really liked this cool gray for the strap. We thought the lighter color went well with our pastel fabric, so we went with that one instead. I'm now tracing the pattern onto the leather and then I'm going to cut them out with scissors. We need one large pattern and two small ones. I'm then going to take the bigger piece and I'm using double-sided tape to hold it together when I sew the edges down. But before we close it up, I'm going to add the D-ring with the round part facing the leather. The two smaller pieces will be sewn together with the end of the strap sandwiched between them. I'm then going to be using double-sided tape to hold them together as well. And now it's off to sew. And because these are thicker leather pieces, I'm going to switch out the universal needle with the denim ones. Make sure you sacrifice your old needle to the sewing machine so it doesn't turn on you. Just kidding. We gotta get that boy out of there. And wait, what's that? Is that a Nori model?
They tried to put me on the cover of Vogue, but my legs were too long.
Now I'm sewing around the edges of the bigger piece and along the D-ring on the back. Because the leather is thick, and on top of that you're going to have to sew through 2 layers, just go slow, and if the needle ever gets stuck, use your hand on the wheel and turn it to help push it through the leather. Now onto the 2 pieces of the strap. Same thing, just sew around all the edges, take it slow around the curves, and pick up the foot with the needle in the fabric to get the right angles. Now I'm just going to go in and clean up the edges by trimming off the excess parts. Once you have those sewn, it's time to assemble the strap. Now wait, pause! Now this next clip is going to show you the right way to put it together. Before that, I put it together the wrong way, sewed up the end, realized the strap wasn't adjusting right, seam ripped it apart, and fixed the strap to where it is at the start of this video. This mistake was the cherry on top of everything, to remind me that the project torture wasn't over. Okay, now on to the right way to assemble it. Play the video.
So you take your strap with the end that doesn't have the leather piece on it, you take your bracket, see how it's curved like this. You take the black side and you feed it with the curve facing to the left. You feed it through the bottom hole. Pull it through with a lot of slack and then you feed it through the top hole, leaving slack on this loop. Then you take your D-ring, the leather D-ring, you put this through here with the leather part facing on the side with your fabric. You pull it through. You take this piece, you feed it back underneath on the bottom hole, like this. Sorry, I pulled more slack. And then you take that same end piece, push it back into that top hole, going around the bracket. Zoom in. Going around the bracket, so it comes in, over, D-ring, bottom, over again. And then you're going to sew it to this side right here. So we're just going to take some clips, clip it here and here, and we're going to sew along this side right here.
Now with that assembled correctly, you're going to sew the end of the strap onto itself to lock the D-ring into the strap. With all that sewn, all that's left is to cut the holes into the leather. Now we didn't have a hole puncher for the leather, so we're just going to use our blade to cut an X the size of the nut on the guitar. I would say a singular slit would have been better and more secure. The X works, but let's just say I'm not going to be swinging my guitar around the world with that strap on. After that, it's just a matter of adding it to the guitar, and it's done. Time for the SeggC B-Roll!
Maybe I'm a little young, but you don't know what I've become. Can't you see it in my face? But even living in disguise, but you can see the killer in my eyes. I've got a look you can't escape.
This project can be done in a couple of hours. Well, 2 days in our case because of the tie-dyeing. But with all the mess ups we had, it took us all day. I will say with projects like these, you just kind of have to push through them and finish them. I learned a lot and still have a half decent strap like I wanted. Comment down below a project you had a really hard time with, or maybe what kind of custom guitar strap you'd want. I do actually have 2 of these straps, but the other one has black leather instead of gray, and I want to give one away when we reach the 100 subscriber milestone. So share this video with your friends, like and comment to help with the algorithm, and let's hit that benchmark. And as always, if you followed along and made your own strap, please tag me in any of my social medias. It would really make my day to see that my video is inspiring other people. And until next time, see ya!